Hi everyone, I'm Savannah and this is Safari Savvy Reptiles Animal Adventures. This is our amazing Panther Chameleon. His name is Turbo. Turbo, although his name is Turbo, isn't really fast. If you see, he's paused in motion. Panther Chameleons come from Madagascar and they are only found on the island of Madagascar. He in particular is an Amblyope Panther Chameleon. What do I mean by Amblyope? That's actually the region or the locale that he comes from. Each region or locale in Madagascar has their own Panther Chameleon. So the males are actually going to have different colors based on where they're from. Now they say chameleons can actually change colors based on what they're touching, and that's not true. They actually can brighten and darken their color, and he's actually lightened his colors right now. Typically he's more of a green and blue color, but if you see, he's kind of gone to a red and a yellow color. Now, when I talked about locales or regions, so each region, the male will actually have their own colors. So you have nosy bees, and those are going to be much brighter blues. You have tamatabs, which are going to be red and whites. And you have anything from nosy mosquitoes to nosy fallies to ambanja. There's a ton of different locales. Amblyopes just happens to be the most common in captivity. There are crosses of locales as well, so people are actually crossing two locales. Now, one weird thing about Panther Chameleons, a really interesting thing, is females, no matter where they're from, are actually completely different colors than the males, and all the females basically look the same. They're going to be pinks and lavenders, and when they're ovulating or ready to mate, they're actually going to be a bright pink color, kind of a highlighter pink color. And then when they are actually retaining eggs, they usually turn pink and black, and they'll usually lay about 20 to 40 eggs at a time. Shiloh here. He can stick his tongue out. It's Turbo here. He can stick his tongue out 1.5 times the length of his body to catch either a cricket or a superworm, and he usually eats about 5 to 10 worms or crickets in a sitting, and we usually feed him about every other day now that he's an adult. Now, Panther Chameleons typically live around 3 to 10 years. They do have a short lifespan, but their incubation time is pretty serious. They take anywhere from 6 to 14 months to incubate in their eggs, and they're not going to hatch out all at once. They're going to hatch out sporadically. So you can have some that'll hatch out at maybe 10 months, and then the rest will actually hatch out by 11 months. So you can actually have about a month gap between hatching, which is a huge size difference. When they're first born, they're about this big. See how big he is? They're about this big, and they eat flightless fruit flies. We also feed them pinhead crickets, which means they are the size of a pinhead, which is super tiny. Before we actually get these guys to their homes, they're going to be about 3 inches, and that's going to be around 3 to 4 months old, depending. Growth size varies. Some of them will eat more, some of them will eat less. When they're in group settings, they definitely don't grow as fast as when you get them and you put them on their own. They are completely solitary creatures. They do not like to be around each other. The females and males will come together to mate, and then they will separate. At our breeding facility, we have blinders, or we have blinders between each enclosure so they cannot see each other because it stresses each other out. The males will constantly go for the females to mate, and the females will constantly be stressed out to get away from the males. Be right back with an amazing female Panther Chameleon. Alright everyone, we're back. This is our beautiful female Panther Chameleon, and like I said, she's actually got the pink colors. Now they do see each other. I did want you to see what happens. He's gonna show off for her, so he's actually bringing some blues out to show her. He's puffed up his chin to show how big he is. He'll tend to try to head bob to get her attention. Now if you see, she's bright pink, so she's actually showing her receptive colors to him, and she's not turning away to get away from him. So she actually might be interested in breeding this male right now. Now she's a little small. She'll get a little bit bigger. She was born in December, and she is one of my favorite females that actually hatched out. She's really beautiful. So we talked about their pink colors, that being the ovulating colors. They're really excited. They're ready to mate. And then once she's gravid, she'll actually have black bars that'll kind of come off her body off the side, and that'll show that she's gravid, and we leave her with a lay box so she can go down and dig and dig and dig until she found the proper space, and she would actually bury her eggs there. Now usually we collect the eggs. Recently we had a case where we didn't know that there were eggs to be collected, and so we actually found teeny tiny babies hatching out of the plant. So she had laid her eggs inside the potted plant inside of her enclosure, and they had all kind of climbed out, which was pretty amazing. We counted 30 babies. Now they do have, what's amazing, they have a prehensile tail, so they can hang from their tail like a monkey. And then they do have 5 digits. They have 5 digits, but they're actually separated into 2 groups. So they have 3 fingers on one side, 2 fingers on the other, and they are like Trekkies, so they can actually climb on the branches. They've evolved to see forward and backward at the same time, so he can actually see in 2 directions at once, and he's got pretty much full range eyesight right there. She may be trying to get away. So this is what the female looks like, which is pretty spectacular. I think he thinks she looks pretty spectacular too. In just a minute, I'll show you a really oddity Panther Chameleon. So, like I showed you, the males are going to be primary colors, reds, blues, greens. Females are going to be pastel colors. They can kind of have lavender hues to them. They can have pinks to them. She's actually changing her bars right now. This male is really odd. For maybe a novice, they'd probably prefer the look of Turbo here. But to me, I really like this guy. Pastel is what we called him. So we're back with Pastel. They probably will not like seeing each other, but Pastel is pretty special, I think. He is a ambilobi Panther Chameleon, but for some reason he didn't get those bright primary colors. He got these really pretty oranges and blues. He almost had female-like colors, and when he was little I actually suspected that he was a female, and I was completely wrong about that. So Pastel here is the same age as Turbo, so he is a little bit smaller, but he does have these really pretty hues about him. Now he seems to be the submissive one because he looks like he is trying to hide from Turbo over here. Come back, I'll put Turbo away and we'll see what Pastel looks like on his own. So Pastel here is obviously not liking being around the camera and not liking all the attention going on, but he is a pretty orange and blue hue here. We talked about Panther Chameleons here, and they are isolated to Madagascar, so they are endemic to Madagascar. This other species of chameleons actually comes from Yemen, and they're known as a veiled chameleon, and they're actually the most common in the pet trade in the United States here. The veiled chameleon is the most common in the pet trade, and they are a little bit more hardy than the Panther Chameleon. They are definitely less expensive, which makes them a good, I wouldn't like to say starter chameleon, but a good chameleon if you are starting to get into chameleons. They still take a lot of work. Being in Yemen, even though it is dry there, they still need a lot of water, and these actually will eat plants, which is kind of cool. Most chameleons are insectivores, but these guys will actually eat the pothos in their enclosure. They do get the really cool cast on the top of their heads. One really neat thing about this is actually a female here, and we can tell from the time they're born because the males will actually have little spurs on the back of their feet, on their hind legs. They'll have one little spur in between their little toes. Remember, they have 5 toes, and they're separated into 2 groups so that they can climb. They also have that amazing prehensile tail, and they can see forward and backward at the same time. Now, they're not going to get those spectacular colors that you will see with the Panther Chameleons, like the primary colors, but they will get really cool pattern changes, and they'll get blues and yellows and greens to them as they get older. They typically live about 3 to 10 years as well. Some have lived a little bit older, but as far as I know, 3 to 10 years is basically their lifespan. Their incubation time is not as long as the Panther Chameleon. They typically only take about 6 months to incubate, which is still a really long time, and they usually are born all at the same time. Again, they will eat flightless fruit flies when they're first born. This guy is actually eating 1/4 inch and half, or girl is eating 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch crickets. So she's pretty cute, this little. Thank you guys for watching all about Panther Chameleons and a little bit about veiled chameleons too. If you guys have any questions, please comment below. We're here to answer any questions that you have. Also, if there's any content that you want to see, any animals that you want to learn about, please comment below. Also, if you want to keep enjoying our amazing animal content, please like, share, and follow for more information and more videos. Thank you so much and enjoy your day.